something. Our supporters are fired up. They were out in force. They all came. They were volunteers. They've been working hard, unlike Representative Songus' folks who were paid. No surprise there. And there's electricity up here in the 5th District. We've been a little bit under the radar, but we're starting to get some attention now. And I'll tell you something. People need to remember, this is a district that voted for Scott Brown 57-43. And on the night of November 2nd, this district is going to be Republican.
You know, one thing that's surprising about your district, or currently held by the Wittasongas, is I was going over to Hudson the other day, taking my kids to the show thing. And I forget what town it was that far west, but I saw your signs and the Wittasongas' signs. Where the heck does this district go?
Yeah, it's huge. It's 29 cities and towns, and we have 4 in Essex County, 4 in Worcester County, and 21 in Middlesex. You know, so we've got Haverhill and Lawrence and Andover and Methuen, and then we go all the way down south to Hudson, where you were, in Stowe. We've got 2 precincts in Wayland. And we go work our way back up through Maynard, Concord, and Carlisle. It's big. We got the big Republican towns like Chelmsford and Billerica and Westford and Drake. It's a big, diverse district, but boy, I'll tell you, it's a good one.
When you debate Congresswoman Songas, what's the conversation like?
Well, I mean, it's basically I'm talking about her voting record of 98% of the time with Nancy Pelosi.
Whoa, 98%?
98% of the time, and she spends the better part of the time not answering questions and distorting my record of what I stand for. So she's not content enough now to tell the people the 5th what's good for them, but she's going to tell them now who I am, and she's going to try to define me. But of course, unfortunately, the people of the 5th are too smart for that.
Well, John Golnik, it is fair to say that in your misspent youth, you did have a misspent youth.
I had a misspent youth, but we all learn from our mistakes.
And how have you spent the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I mean, look, for the last 10 years, we built a nice home for my kids, my 11-year-old, my 8-year-old. It's both my wife and I work. You know, we balance our work and our family. I think we've created a great environment for our kids, and we're very proud of them. And I'm a small businessman now.
What kind of business?
I'm a reseller at Boston College merchandise. So there's a handful of us that Boston College allows to resell their merchandise, and they receive the royalties from our sales.
Well, I love college merchandise. I'm a big college sports fan, so it's great stuff.
Go to our site, College Sports Fanatics. But before you go there, go to my website, johngolnik.com.
What are the 1 or 2 issues that people are going to be voting on in the 5th District, from Hudson all the way to Methuen, all the way over back, Methuen, all the way back? What are they going to be voting on?
Jobs, and jobs, not necessarily in that order. We've got to create some jobs in this country and in this district, and if jobs aren't created in the public sector, they're created in the private sector. We need to lower the burden of regulation and taxes on these folks so they can start creating jobs and put people back to work.
And what are 1 or 2 that you mentioned the 98% of the time that Congresswoman Songas has been voting with Nancy Pelosi? What are a couple of key votes or statements she's made that most of the voters you think must not know about?
Well, look, how about that Acorn vote? I mean, that one happened probably more than 18 months ago. That was probably one piece of bipartisan legislation that she voted on, but she was on the wrong side of it.
Tell us about it.
Well, she was one of it was the Defund Acorn Act. And it was basically withdrawing federal funds from Acorn because they were under investigation in 30-plus states. Now, look, whether you support Acorn or you don't, I happen not to. You know, it seems to make sense to me, practical sense, that if it is under indictment under 30 states, you step away, you have an investigation. If nothing's going on, then you can resume funding again. She voted not to stop defunding of Acorn, and when asked why, she said, oh, well, because it's not clear what the covered organization was. If you look at the title of the bill, it's called Defund Acorn. I don't know how much clearer that can be.
So she wasn't sure what the bill was about.
Right. Well, it's some nonsense. You know, it's just it's exhausting. I have to constantly tell people that I'm not for privatizing Social Security, and I'm not a creature of Wall Street as well. So it gets exhausting, but you know what? It's just a perfect illustration of she cannot run on her record, and she is out of touch with the people of this district. She thinks that we're cash machines, that we're an ATM, and we can just pay for the deficit by raising our taxes after this deficit was raised off of her bad votes.
Yeah, and by the you mentioned that. I mean, she's trying to make it sound like you were part of AIG and part of the AIG bailout, when she won't talk about the bailouts that she supported and the tax hike, the spending that she supported, and the Obamacare and stimulus bills that she supported.
Right. I mean, this is what we say. We say, look, her rhetorics don't match. Her rhetoric doesn't match her record. I worked at AIG more than a decade ago, a few years out of school for 3 years. She gave money to Wall Street firms that had record profits and pay record bonuses. Wall Street thrives. Main Street continues to suffer. And to be honest with you, who's the creature of Wall Street when you look at the facts? She's the one who voted for the funding of these Wall Street firms. Look, Michael, I tell people this. I said, if you're tired and you feel like you don't have a voice and you feel like you're disenfranchised, I say, come with me. Come with me, and I'm going to work for you day and night to make sure I bring the challenges of the 5th District down to D.C. to be solved.
John Golnik, thanks so much for joining us. How can people reach your campaign again?
Listen, go to my website, johngolnik.com. That's JONGOLNIK.com, or call our office at 978-589-5166.
John, thanks so much, and good luck on the campaign trail. If you haven't seen the video, go to the Michael Graham page of 969bostontalks.com. If you're in a sour mood, if you're one of those people who's hoping for real change in November, you're hoping that incumbents will lose, and maybe you're going, look at this Jeff Perry race, and maybe, I don't know. Go to my website and watch that video. It'll give you, would you not agree, Graham Parallel Tom? It'll give people a smile? Yeah, very
good comedy.
Put you right in the right mood about what's going on here.